And welcome back to another episode of Finding Your Voice. I'm Michael Clark. Today I'm here with the Sure Sales Group team leader, one of the best agents in Baltimore, an avid golfer. He's actually wearing a golf shirt today, Andrew Undem. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, it is St. Patrick's Day, so I had to go green.
It is St. Patrick's Day. I am not in green, and you now have completely outed me that if I post this anytime other than St. Patrick's Day, they're going to know that it took me that long to do. So I got to get this out within a week.
You look great, Michael. You look great. It's going to be fine.
How the heck are you? How you been?
I'm good.
Yeah?
I'm good.
Ready for spring market?
Spring market came early. We're banging right
Is that right?
Yes.
You're coming off of a really hot 2024. At least that's what the data shows me.
I mean, it wasn't hot for us, but it was okay.
Okay.
It was okay. 2022 was hot. 2021 was hot.
Well, yes, it was a scorcher in those times. But yeah, global warming has cooled it off now for us. But talk to me a little bit about, your story. Something that I think is fascinating about the age of social media is that I feel like I know you. And this is, I think, maybe the first or second time maybe we've ever met. I think we have run into one another, but you don't know who little old me is. You're one of this big time agent in Baltimore City. Obviously now you're doing business all over the place. Talk to me about how you got into real estate. Was it always your passion? Was it always the plan? How did it happen? We call it a mortgage story. Give me your real estate story.
Yeah, it was very organic. It was totally on accident. I don't have any family in the business, nothing like that.
Well, that's not true. We're going to get into that later though. I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. But yeah, so, my dad works at Johns Hopkins. He's a professor, full professor, PhD. My mom's a pharmacist now since retired. So I kind of have that background, right? I grew up in that.
Yeah.
Highly educated, which is awesome. I have the best parents in the world, great siblings, all that. And I was studying to be a chartered financial analyst is what I thought I wanted to be. So I got a finance degree from York. It was actually business administration, but I was kind of into the finance thing. Graduate 2009, bad time for CFAs. Everything's kind of
on the downswing.
On the downswing. People aren't hiring for that type of skill set. There's very qualified people who can't get a job, right? This is right after 2008.
Sure.
Big crisis. So I ended up selling cars. And the funny story there was I never woke up early. I can't get up early. And I went from doing whatever I wanted in college, to now I'm living at home. And I think it was about the second day I woke up at 11 a.m., and my mom woke me up, hit me with a classified newspaper. Hey, you're not going to be a loser here all summer. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't stay here. And she says, look, hiring, luxury car sales, college degree required. You have one. You're applying for this job.
Love this.
So I had actually sold cars in the summers of college at Village Volvo in Bel Air. Again, great parents. My dad wrote a note on my behalf, sent it to Village Volvo and said, hey, I can work here. I can sell stuff, because I was always a talker, I was a sales guy. I think he saw that in me. So I had a little bit of experience, took that job, selling Porsches and Audis. Now I did that for 10 months, 11 months. Great job, by the way. Highly recommend it. Even the car sales, right? Not anyone's...
Always gets a bad rep.
Yeah, it's not your highest aspiration, but the people I met. Look, people come on the lot, and they're buying Porsches and Audis. These aren't bums. So I met a lot of cool people. I remember selling an Audi to the CFO of McCormick Spices and things like that, and I always had a good attitude. I had good energy. I was excited to be there. I was probably making about 6 figures as a 22-year-old selling cars, which when you're living in Federal Hill, that's enough to spend. You're buying the bar at night.
Literally.
It's great.
And you probably were.
Oh, yeah. I was the man. I met some really cool people there. But how I got into real estate was a woman came in. She was trading in a Volvo for an Audi. We hit it off, right? Good rapport.
Yep.
And she just said, Andrew, do you like working here? And I said, no, I hate it.
Wink, wink.
And I said, no, I hate it. Thanks for asking. I have to be here at 9 a.m. I don't get to leave till 9 p.m. I live an hour away. It's dark when I wake up. It's dark when I get home. 6 days a week, only day off Sunday. I hate it. And we had a good laugh.
With a smile on the face, yeah.
And she said, you should sell houses. Well, what I didn't know is she was the manager for a Ryan Homes division, NVR Inc., Ryan Homes, big builder here locally. And so I said, yeah, I'll do that. And
when do I start?
Went through that interview process, which was tough. And I got that job selling new homes. So I did that. I did really well there. Now I was making like $150, $200. Oh my God, I'm 22, 23. That's a lot of money.
I've made it.
And then I kept seeing agents walk in, and I'm thinking, man, these people aren't that impressive, by and large. And I could see how much money they were making, 2.5%, 3%. Interesting fact, Ryan Homes back then, we never paid real estate agents, zero, always zero. But I could still see the agreements. Some of them were doing the buyer broker thing. Now this is 2010, 11. And I'll never forget the one day I was working in Ellicott City and Bob Lucido walks in. Now I see him pull up, Lexus LS 750, the big one, gets out looking like $1 million, comes in, makes me feel important. How are you doing? I see you're selling a lot of homes here. You're doing a great job. Tell me what's going on. And he was just, the vibe was right.
Yep.
I was looking at him like, this guy's obviously extremely successful. I didn't know who he was.
No, that's even better.
And he just said, look, if there's anyone who ever has a home to sell, I'll buy it. Guaranteed sale. I'll get you a non-contingent sale. So I started referring him. People would come into the model home, and they wanted to buy this single-family home in Ellicott City. They had to sell their townhome, whatever the case may be, and I'd say, call Bob. Now, what he did that was cool is he said, if you call me with your prospective buyer in front of you, I will always answer the phone for you. Interestingly, what I realized way later is he never saves a phone number. He just memorizes them. Guy's a freak. So I was sending that guy business, and he really took care of me. He'd show up 2 weeks later, and he said, hey, Andrew, are you still with your girlfriend? You know, we had a lot of conversations. I said, yeah. He goes, here's 2 tickets behind home plate for the Orioles game. You should take her there. You'll have a good time. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, and here's a gift card to Capital Grill. Take her out afterwards. So I love this guy. And then I realized that's the guy I wanted to be like. He was kind of my first
mentor.
The vision I had. And then we sat down, and I wanted to work with him, and then I ended up going a different direction. So I met one of my best friends to this day now. His name's Joe Cicchetti. So I ended up working with him. He was kind of more fun. You know, he was a little younger, a little more in the scene downtown, and we came together. And I worked with him for about 1.5 years, and he taught me a ton. And he was just a prolific agent. So I had really good mentor in him. And then we started our team together, which was the Sure sales group, right? Sure was Cicchetti Undem Real Estate, SURE.
Nah, it's funny. I was going to ask what that stood for.
So
now you tell me.
Name. Yeah, and we had a great run, and then he went off, and he's doing awesome stuff. He's got an awesome property management company. He kind of let me take the reins there in 2020 formally. So I was the owner, and of course we had Matt Pecker, who's still a partner of mine, who's another agent,
right?
Who people don't realize. He doesn't do social media. This guy, I remember there was a year, I'll forget the year, he sold 148 homes for about $57 million himself. Never posts, I mean, he'll post pictures and stuff on social, but he's not a big marketer.
Sure.
He's just a beast.
Yeah.
So between Matt and I now, we were at Remax Sales with Chris Cook, who owned it. They sold that whole brokerage to Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Home Sale Realty.
Yep.
So Home Sale acquired our Remax, and that's how we got to Berkshire. And that was in 2020. In the last 4 years, we're just trying to grow it and scale it, and I've made 1 million mistakes, and I'm still learning. I have a big sign behind my desk that says Amaro Imparo, which is Latin for I'm still learning.
Yep.
So that's where we are now. We had some good years. We did over 510 deals in 2022, damn near 200 million closed.
Incredible.
And I made some key hires recently. I'm very excited. I'm very bullish because I just think we can really grow this thing. And now that I'm a little older and I have a family now and I'm not partying as much, I'm focused
Caveat
on,
as much. Yeah, I love
I'm focused on golf and focused on business, but business for family, golf, business.
Yeah.
That's where
you
I'm
talked about so many things to unpack there. One of the things that I would love to hear, you know, you were talking about that story with Lucido and, you know, he made you feel important. Talk about what that means to somebody, because now you're a business owner. You have been for quite some time. You've talked about these key hires you've made. I hire people for a living. That's how I started in this business on the lending side. But what are you looking for in somebody, and why does it? What did that interaction that Bob did for you? This making you feel important, the gift card to Capital Grill, the tickets, baton, home plate. Anytime you call me with a prospective buyer, I'm going to pick up the phone. How has that shaped the way Andrew Undem goes out and looks for either talent or scalability, or you mentioned this being bullish? What's that look like to you? How do you make people feel important? Because truthfully, honest to God, I said at the top of the podcast, we've run into each other in the industry at events and things of that nature, the golf course. This is the first time we're sitting down. It's actually how I'm meeting a lot of the people that have been coming on this podcast, and I'm uber grateful about it because for me, you've got a platform, you've built it a long, long time. I remember seeing your videos the first time, I think your home tour videos where you were flying drones through the downtown, Canton area, row homes. And I was like, I know that place. That's how I got, turned on to your marketing. But how do you make people feel important in today's day and age? Because it's so transactional, our business to begin with, and it's so transactional in 2025 because people are just already on to the next thing.
Yeah. Well, you got to do transactions, but you do have to make people feel important. And there's that great quote, I think it's Mother Teresa or somebody like that. No, it was Maya Angelou, excuse me. People never will remember what you do or what you say, but they'll remember how you made them feel. Super important. So with Bob, he just did it naturally and automatically. It was his presence. I was a young man, and he was a very established person. I didn't realize at the time he had already built and ran Builder's First Choice, where he knew everything about new home sales.
Yeah.
Now, he didn't come in there and try to one-up me. He came in there and he wanted to help me.
Add value to you.
He just said, look, I can solve your problems. And he was kind, and I could tell he meant business, and he was very respectful. And he didn't, he's here, I'm here. But he didn't make me feel like that. He says, Andrew, you're doing such a good job. How many homes are you selling? And he'd sit down and say, hey, have you ever thought about this? And how are you handling that situation? He was curious to find ways to help me. And so it was just his presence and essence that made me feel like I want to be like this guy.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, there's so many people. You talked about the bar of entry. I mean, I'll put the phrase together because it's really what you said. And it's something that I've been struggling with, I think, for the last 5 years of being in this business. As I've learned, the bar of entry in our industry is low.
Yeah. If any lower, you trip over it.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I wouldn't have said that, but I don't disagree with you. What is necessary as you see, not necessarily sitting here asking you for a prediction, but what is it that you see this industry might need from a talent standpoint? You're bullish on real estate. I think we're both bullish for the same reasons. It's the market is contracting, and if you can succeed in a retracting market, you're going to succeed when the when the cycle goes back up on the upswing, because it's going to happen. I think rates are starting to come down. I think inventory is starting to open back up. We're going to have problems. We always are going to have problems. They're just different problems. We had problems in 2020 and 2021, if you remember. At least we did on the lending side. There was almost too much business to go around, operational inefficiencies. Now we're sitting here going, okay, we've got the operational efficiencies handled, but now we don't have enough business. It just ebbs and it flows. But the bar of entry in this business, what are you looking for from an entry point for a real estate agent joining the Sure Group?
You want determination. You want good character. Now, these are like cliche buzzwords, but it's very true because I can create opportunity.
Yeah.
I can get leads, per se. I can get opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
There's been months I can click a few buttons, run some ads, we can get 1,000 leads a month. And now we have Zillow Flex that's coming in hot. And you can buy Realtor.com with these new market VIP things.
Yep.
The market's always changing. I'm good at creating opportunities. Based on some of Bob's tutelage and my background, I work with a lot of new home builders. And if you know that game, which not many people do.
New construction, huge.
You can create a lot of opportunities. So if I can create opportunities and I find someone who's determined, that's the word, hungry.
Yeah.
You can't coach it. You can't teach it. You either want to bust your ass or you don't. If I have opportunity and determination, I can work with that. That's magic.
Totally.
If I have opportunity and then the determination wanes, it becomes a welfare state where I'm giving you opportunities, you're not even working that hard, and then you'll find an excuse. You'll start blaming things. I'm big on 100% responsibility, no blame. I don't want to hear any blame. I don't want to hear it. I don't care whose fault it is. I don't care what's going on. I don't even care what the market's doing. One of my mentors, Mark Stark, listen to this guy. This guy, we don't know him here locally on the East Coast, but he was the owner of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, California, Nevada, Arizona. He had 34 agents. In 2021, he did $9.5 billion in volume, 17,000 transactions. He owned the whole thing.
17,000 transactions. I mean, think about that. 17,000 sales and buy sides and sell sides.
And he's very efficient, and he was very profitable. And I believe he had a, 9-figure exit. Okay. He taught me responsibility versus blame, and I'm very sensitive to it now. Because when I start hearing the blame stuff, we do not tolerate that. You got to own it. And the other thing he said, Michael, is in any market, I don't care if it's COVID, if the rates go from 2 to 7, if inventory's tight, if it's expanding, if we have political unrest, in any market, great financial crisis, which some of these older heads went through, we should be learning from them.
Yeah, multiple times.
We should be learning from them. In any market, there's going to be brokers and agents that win and brokers and agents that lose.
Yeah.
So you want to be on this side.
Yep.
So that's what it's about. And you can't get there if you're not determined, you don't have opportunity, and you have blame going on.
Yeah. Do you hire somebody just, and if they've got all those innate qualities, I call them innate, right?
I'll take them.
It doesn't matter the experience level?
Doesn't matter.
It's so funny that you say that. I've got like all these, I teach at Loyola University, Maryland in the business school where I went, my alma mater, and every time people are like, how do I get into the business? And it's a lot easier, I think, in my opinion, to get into the real estate side, right? Omar actually talked about it last week on his episode of talking about it was $300 and you had to have the drive, the determination, go find somebody.
Well, that's why everybody fails, because it's easy to get into. So
that's a great point.
There's two schools of thought on this. People are like, we should make it harder to get in, and there's so many unprofessional people. Well, they let me in. They let other people in. So you have to, look, in this country, we allow people to go for it.
Yeah.
And then most people fail. That's entrepreneurship across the board. I don't care what industry.
Yeah.
No one's coming to save you. No one can help you but you. This is an internal game. It's always going to be an internal game.
I love that.
And you're going to fail. I've failed at everything I've done. But I keep going because you know what I realized? No one's going to save me. It's if it's meant to be, it's up to me kind of thing.
Totally.
If you don't own that, really internalize it, you're going to be a statistic, because you'll always think of, well, this is really tough. I could do what my buddy's doing over there. Okay, these guys are doing X. Maybe I'll get into loans. Maybe I'll get into title. Maybe I should sell insurance. Maybe I should get a job.
Well, it's the keeping up with the Joneses, right? We've talked about it all the time recently. And I actually think that's one of the negatives of social media. You see somebody doing something, and again, my favorite are the people that are doing stuff on social media and it perceivably is successful, and then you go look up their numbers or their data, especially in our business, and they're really doing nothing. And it's like,
even the ones who are doing a lot aren't that profitable.
Well, I know that on this side of the business, but 100%. I want to go back to something that you said because I think that's extremely poignant. It was, and the word that came to my mind was accountability, but you said 100% responsibility, 0% blame. I heard that right?
Yes.
Where did you find that? Did you coin that yourself?
Mark Stark.
Okay. So Mark tells you that it's 100% responsibility, 0% blame, even when the responsibility is on somebody else?
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. So if I'm on one side of the transaction, right? I'm the listing agent, the buyer's agent. The buyer's agent messed us up. Can you believe what they asked us to do? Can you believe the loan's not going to close, the home inspection, the appraisal?
Yeah.
And you start blaming.
Yeah.
It's easy to do. It's what everybody does.
Yeah.
I go, these guys are making my life so hard. As soon as you start blaming, your mind stops working on the solution. It is my responsibility.
I love this.
It's my responsibility. I don't care if you messed it up. My responsibility. It's my responsibility for my client to get this thing done. I don't care what happened. So you can blame. And maybe you do it internally. Do it for 5 minutes. Don't vocalize it. Don't give those words any energy, any power. We work on solutions.
Yeah.
And if more people would do that, it's hard to do. But even it happens in our organization all the time. When I start hearing, I go, we don't need the story. What are we doing about it?
Love it.
And that's how you have to move it forward.
Have you always been like that? Or that was something that Mark, so tell me,
we're all growing.
Yeah,
I used to be a little whiny baby bitch.
Yeah, understood.
Oh, can you believe what happened to me?
Yeah.
Do you think anyone cares? Does anyone want to hear it?
Well, no, we're sitting right now in right mind, in a good state, no alcohol in these coffees. Maybe, I don't know. And
I just got done the 75 hard. I haven't drank since 12:27.
I was going to say, you look great. It's unbelievable.
I'm hitting the golf bar further.
Do I need to get back into the 75 hard? I have tried 3 times, okay? This little challenge, okay?
It's tough.
And every single time I've gotten COVID midway through it. The furthest I got was day 33.
Blame.
No, and this is why this is exactly the reason I'm bringing the story up.
Oh, you have an excuse. That's convenient. I was a little sick.
I was a little sick. I was in the hospital for 11 days. But
okay.
But I bring this up because it is a great transition back to the responsibility. You look great. I've seen you on social media. But if you want to get somewhere, and you talk about not being a morning person, you just said that you don't love that.
No.
You're driving down I'm sure 95 today. I love the Tesla videos, by the way. We're going to get back to that in a minute.
It's on autopilot.
Yeah, and by the way, as a fellow Tesla owner, I heard the beep, beep, beep to pay attention to the road this morning as you were shouting me and Mark out on the and Lucido. I think those are the 3 tags.
Yeah.
So you're bringing them up this morning. But the responsibility, and tell me what in your life changed, because there was a time, you just admitted it, we're all growing, and I love that. Yeah. What changed in your business when that finally clicked for you? Because I can give very vulnerably stories of in the last 3 weeks that I would take the blame instead of the responsibility. And I want to hear from somebody who's changed the mindset, because to me that's a mindset of a CEO, the mindset of a business owner. Nobody cares about titles in our business. I asked you before we started recording. I said, "What do you want me to call you?" You're like, "I don't really care."
I'm a real estate agent, like everybody else. That's a little funny thing I always riff on. People call themselves CEOs.
Yeah.
Now, look, nothing wrong with it. But CEOs report to a board of directors by publicly traded companies. Now, real estate agents who call themselves CEOs, I just find it's funny to me.
Yeah.
But I guess it's, we do make the decisions for our business. We have legitimate business. We have good revenue.
You're a business owner. You're running a book of business. And so when did it change for you? Why did it have to change? Because usually somebody, a mentor, a colleague, a great, sounding board. Look, it sounds like Mark is. Shout out to Mark. If he's paying attention, he should come to Baltimore. We should maybe have him on the pod.
He was just here. He might not ever come back because I don't know why he would.
You just ruined my opportunity to get Mark to talk about the 100%, 0%. But what was there a moment for you that it changed? Because you don't just snap your fingers and go, okay, I'm going to wake up this morning and I'm going to do 75 hard. You don't wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to stop playing the blame game and I'm going to take 100% responsibility. That was you went through a reprogramming of mindset. A lot of people say they are avid readers and that's how they start to grow. Some people, listen to podcasts. Some people are doing, what is Andrew Undem doing to grow day in and day out as an entrepreneur?
I was so lucky that when I was doing the car deals, I met this guy. His name was Chad Prinky, prolific business owner. What's up, Chad? He's one of my best friends. He was the officiant at my wedding. Funny story, with the first time I meet the guy, he comes over. He's on the Porsche side, I'm on the Audi side. He comes over to try to help me. Nice guy. And I was a prick. He said, hey, look, I'm going to show you a couple things. I said, Chad, I'm not here to make friends. Okay, you go on that side. I'll stay on this side. It's all good.
Territorial.
We became best friends.
I love that.
And he ended up leaving and working for the sales consultant firm. And they were kind of training me as well.
Yeah.
Because they said, you should come work with us on the sales consulting side. And they were doing B2B stuff and all kinds of cool things. And I got indoctrinated at that 22 years old of seeing how big businesses work, how the consulting game works, how really high-level sales, not like B2C, but B2B complex things. And in that, I was in that world, then I took the job at New Homes, right? I was off Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I worked every weekend. Well, on the Tuesdays and Wednesdays I was off, I'd go in and work at the sales consulting firm. So I worked. So I was getting so much experience, and Ryan Holmes had incredible training. Like, I can read a blueprint, site plan. I know how homes are built. I know the critical path to construction. I was a professional open house holder. That's
Literally.
what you do.
Yeah, right.
So, and I got so many reps, so much practice, because people would come in and I'd do my Ryan Holmes training stuff. That's good. And then I'd sprinkle in some of the stuff I'm learning over here, and I was pretty good. But during that time, in the model home, I'd be reading these books and I'd get these recommendations, and it was all like the personal development stuff, which most people, maybe not a ton of people, get it that young. But
or they skip over it.
Like the Jim Rohn stuff and all the quotes and all the stuff where it's just all about you being the best you can be. And like one of my favorite quotes is, if there's no enemy within, the enemies outside can do you no harm. And I believe that. If I'm good with me, I'm good with me. Nothing can hurt me but me. Anyone can do anything to me, say anything to me, but if I don't give any power, it's meaningless.
God, it's so poignant that you're on this podcast today, because it's something I needed to hear, I think. Say that one more time.
Just don't give your power away.
Yeah.
But
give me the quote one more time about the enemy.
If there's no enemy within, the enemies outside can do me no harm.
I love it. Who said that? Andrew Undem? No, I'm just kidding.
I think it's like an African proverb or something like that.
Well, you didn't have to tell anybody that. You could have taken credit. It's perfect.
Yeah, no, it's not me. I mean, I have some original stuff, but all my original stuff comes from being a practitioner. Like, this is how I talk to a buyer. This is how I talk to a seller. And I go around and I do talks on that. It's agent stuff.
Yeah.
But I gather, when I hear something good, I'll think about it. I've always given myself time to think. But to answer your question, when did that shift happen?
Yeah.
I can't quite pin it down, but it was working closely with this guy, Mark Stark, who I met where I was in Omaha, Nebraska. He's giving a talk. I'm sitting front row. I always sit front row.
You do.
Always.
We were at an event together, and you did. I can confirm.
Why would I sit in the back?
I can confirm. I was in the second row because I was too afraid to sit in the front row.
I'm here to learn.
As a former teacher, I was too afraid to sit in the front row. And I used to tell kids, why are you sitting anywhere but the front row? What a hypocrite.
Well, here's another pro tip. People say it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Mm-hmm, I love that line.
That's wrong. It's who knows you.
Ooh.
Okay. So
Rita Clark, I'm going to get you on that one.
Yeah, who knows you? So I have that in my head. So I always sit in the front row because if I like what they're saying and if I think there's a connection, if there's a way that I could maybe get close to this person, the speakers are normally kind of badass.
Totally.
I want to be prepared, and I want to make an impression on this person. So that's what happened with Mark. He spoke. I grabbed him afterwards. We hit it off, and then we ended up starting a training company together. We ran it for a year. We traveled around. We did a lot of talks, and this guy's story was so prolific in the way his mind worked. Do you realize the type of person you have to be? He started off 21 years old, knocking on doors, being an agent, just like Bob did, just like all the greats, the Northrops, the Lucidos, the people that, if you're smart and you got your head on screwed right, instead of saying, oh, screw them, they have all this business, they have all this volume, they're not offering commission, whatever you hear, blame stuff. You say, that's someone you want to be like. So you have to find people you want to model.
Yeah,
you never stop looking for that.
I love that.
And just being around him, when he mentioned that in his talk, the blame versus responsibility thing, it just clicked. That was probably 2022, and I wrote that down, and ever since that day, I said, yep, that's how I'm going to roll.
We've talked a lot in the open about sales and your successes and some of your philosophies, but you also have you've kind of dabbled to it about your personal and professional kind of balance. I'd love to know from a fellow entrepreneur, somebody who's running a day-to-day business, it sounds like potentially even multiple businesses, how do you balance work and professional? I think you do it very well, by the way, not that my opinion matters, on the social media platforms, because you sprinkle in your beautiful kids, on the golf, running around the putting green or whatever, and you and your wife. Talk to me about that balance for you, because I think that's something that we're at an inflection point, I believe, in industry right now of people just see, and that's what social media can do, perception is reality,
right, that
you're go, 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 I'm running business, there's no time for play or there's no time for fun. I know you're an avid golfer. I know you're a family man. At least when I say I know, I actually shouldn't say that. Perception of your reality is that real. You are those things. And I feel that your social media is authentic to who you are. But talk to me about how you've navigated that as you've scaled business, because it's not easy to do. I'm sitting here now. I just got a puppy a year ago, and I'm trying.
And you got nothing, dude.
Right.
That's nothing.
Exactly.
You have no excuse.
It's all responsibility, no blame.
I have 3 little humans.
Yeah. How do you do that?
And I'm their leader.
Well, so I think your wife might disagree with that.
First of all, here's another little soundbite quote. It's the biggest decision you can make in life is the person you're going to choose as your spouse.
Yeah, your partner, yeah.
So I have literally the best wife. And I'm not just saying it's not because I want to go golfing later, right? If I'm really nice to her, she'll be like,
but I did ask him if he could play golf at 3:30 this afternoon.
Yeah, I can't. So she's a rock. She handles the ship. She runs the house. She runs my calendar, and she's awesome. She's loving.
Is she in the business with you?
No.
Okay, got it.
No, her job is to be the best mom of all time, and she is the best mom and the best wife. So without that, I wouldn't be.
I love that.
I like. There's no way.
True
I'd be
partnership.
I'd be a mess. Like, so that's key. I don't know how to give advice on that. You just got to pick the right person.
Yeah.
But balance is a funny thing, and there is no balance.
I'm hearing this more and more often.
There's no balance. I don't even want people who want balance.
Huh.
Winners don't need balance. It's called amateurs want to love what they do. Pros and winners learn to love to do whatever it takes.
Another good one.
You got to do whatever it takes. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that is working 30 days in a row and every weekend and doing the open houses. Do you have to do that? No. But you should, if you're clear, if you have clarity on what you want and you're actually committed, then you do whatever it takes. And sometimes you just got to do whatever it takes.
I saw like a sound bit. I don't remember if it was a TikTok or an Instagram reel in the last week. It was I think Jay Shetty's podcast, I believe.
He's good.
Yeah. And he had somebody on, butcher his name, so I won't even say it. So, and they were having this conversation about very key theme, like you just mentioned. It was like, you want to make $1 million, right? And then I asked the question. He's like a speaker. He's like, I ask that at the end of everything, every talk I give, who in here wants to make $1 million? And everybody raises their hand. And then he says, how many people believe that they actually can do it? And very few hands raised, if any. He always says. It's like, what percent of you think that? What percent do you believe that it would take you to do that? 1, 5, 10. He says nobody ever gets, because nobody wants to be bullish enough to say, 100% I'm going to make it. And then he goes, I'm going to reframe the question. If in 1 year you don't make $1 million, or everybody in your life that you love dies and is going to die, now what is it going to take? And everybody's like, 100%. There's nothing that's going to stop me. It resonates so deeply with that quote you just said.
Well, everybody wants to do it, but here's where, at least in our industry, where people get stuck. They want to do it. Say they are determined. And look, there's people making millions of dollars that are not smarter than you.
100%.
They're just not.
100%.
They work harder, and they've got around the right people, and they're not interested, because that's the big thing. Are you interested or are you committed? Two totally different things. They're not even in the same stratosphere. Everyone's interested. Very few are committed. So the gap between that is your behavior. What are you actually doing every day?
Right.
Are you doing the interested stuff when it's convenient, or are you committed even when it's not convenient? I'm going to do it. That's what committed means. It means doing the things you don't want to do, but doing it like you love it.
How many times did you have to do that when you were in the 75 hard?
All the time. But see, because my wife's so awesome, I didn't even want to do it. She was like, you should do this. I'm going to do it. You're going to do it. So
she did it too?
She did it too. She ran the show.
And by the way, 75 days, you said you just finished?
Yeah.
So 75 days, if I work it backward, you were not drinking during the holiday season and stuff like that?
And it was cold as shit. And I worked outside every single day. Worked out outside every single day. Cold snap.
I need to start hanging out with you and your wife.
But it was awesome, because now I don't even want to go back. Like, I worked out this morning. I didn't have to.
Well, you've made it a habit.
Yeah.
You talk about
like last night, it was cold. I was like, I kind of feel like I'd feel better if I went for a walk. I just walked for 45 minutes outside.
Are you into the cold plunges?
No.
No.
I'm into saunas, though.
The sauna.
I'm Scandinavian. We sauna.
We sauna.
We sauna.
Understood. Yeah. So I love this. So you basically were like, and it was clearly your partner, who I loved. I love the bit about, the greatest decision you make in your life is not the house you buy. It's not the decisions you make on where you go to college, right? You hear kids hear that all the time. This is the biggest decision you'll ever make in your life is where you go to school. I laugh at that, especially as a former educator. It's the partner you choose.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is somebody that's going to walk with you in your greatest moments and your worst moments. They're going to push you out of it sounds like your wife pushed you out of your comfort zone. Like, it wasn't like you wanted to do it, or you were like, I need to lose weight. She just wanted me
to have a routine, and I still don't. So it didn't work out for her. She just wanted me to wake up and help her with the kids. Look, I got an 8, a 5, a 3. Every single night of the week there's practice. My wife's the lacrosse coach.
By the way, 8, 5, 3. I'm not a I try to keep on the patterns. Are we? Right. Is there? No, I'm just kidding. We're not.
I think we're done. I think we're done. But I could have another one. I love them.
You do?
Even that third one, 3's a lot. But you just love them so much. You're like, I love kids.
Yeah.
I like being around the kids.
Are they into golf?
Oh yeah, I'm training them.
I know that.
We're getting that grip going. Just
right. Yeah. I love the post when you're on the putting green at the club, just like walking around there doing stuff. Do you ever sit there more probably with your 5 and your 3-year-old, and you're ever like, oh my God, don't take a divot somewhere that you're not supposed to?
Yeah, they're pretty good.
They are.
Yeah,
I love it. Your wife's got them trained up. It's good to go.
Well, they're wild.
Does she play?
She can play.
Really?
Oh yeah, she can play.
Little 9 and dine and
little
mixed couples.
First hole she ever played, she parred.
Is that so?
Yeah, but she can swing and miss too. So.
Well, can't we all? I mean, if I get a couple surf sides going, and
yeah,
I could swing and miss. So could you, I think.
Yeah, but she's an athlete. She's a better athlete than me.
Where'd you guys meet?
We met at McGurk's in Bel Air.
Oh, so she's a Baltimore native.
She's a Bel Air Bobcat, and I was a Falston Cougar. Didn't know each other through high school, thank God, because she wouldn't have liked me. And then, we met, and I moved downtown, and it was all good.
I love that.
It's been great.
So people, one of the things I always try to talk about on every episode of this is I'm usually bringing on people that are entrepreneurs and business owners on there in different industry. And, of course, you and I share an industry that we both love and hate at times. But talk to me about your coming of age on a personal finance standpoint, right? It sounds like you've run obviously successful business, perception being reality, but were you trained in personal finance, or was it something that you had to learn as you continued down the path? You talked about something that I think is incredibly important. 20, 22, 23 years old, you're making six figures. That is a rarity, right? Especially even today, as wages keep going up and costs going up. I'm sure you didn't manage that perfectly, making a ton of money early, or maybe you did.
I managed it pretty good.
How did that happen? Was it because of mentors of yours? I know you said you had great parents, but personal finance, I think today is extremely rare for the literacy portion.
Oh yeah, I see people just destroy their future net worth with the decisions they make, whether it's they're drawn to that immediate gratification. I would have to say for me, it was all the way I grew up, because my parents were very savvy with dollars, and they're all about the delayed gratification, and they did really well.
Sure.
And they just taught us, you got to save. From the day I was whatever, when I started learning about money, it's always you save the money.
Yeah.
And we had that going for us. So I was never a spendthrift. I'm still pretty cheap. I just ask any of my employees, because I want to grow the nut.
Yeah.
And it's just a game at this point. Like, of course, you're still motivated by certain metrics,
sure,
and things like that. But I don't buy anything unless I could buy it like 5 times in cash. Like anything.
Yeah.
Anything. The first nice things I've only ever bought myself, I bought a Tesla. This was 8 years ago.
Yep.
Okay. Before everyone hated Elon. I bought a Tesla cash. It was 96 grand.
What do you have, the Y or the X?
I have the S.
Oh, the S.
The big sedan.
Gotcha.
It's the best one they make.
100%.
And that was a big deal. I just bought it in cash, which is, in theory, there's probably a fair argument to say you should have financed that, especially if I could have borrowed at 3%.
Yeah, maybe at that time, yeah.
But it's just how it's like, no, I don't like loans on stuff unless it's an appreciating asset. So it's the car and the house were the only things I bought. But I bought a lot of real estate, sold a lot personally. Bought a lot, held a lot, sold a lot. And it's just, I don't buy dumb shit.
Right.
And I think a lot of people do, because they think it's going to make them happy, and you realize it doesn't make you happy.
Yeah, no, it's so true. I mean, the things, that instant gratification versus delayed gratification, that's a key. I love that, because I think I too had good parents that took me to the bank at 18 to open up a credit card to teach me what credit and start how do you start putting stuff on the credit card and paying it off appropriately, not just putting it on a credit card and not having the money to pay it off.
Credit card debt is, no one should have it.
Yeah.
Our country,
I don't understand it.
It's like a debtor nation. People with credit card debt, it's like, oh my God, what are we doing? I remember I had a credit card when I was 16. Now this is all thanks to my mom. She got us credit cards. We'd use them. She'd pay them off. She built our credit. See, I didn't appreciate what she was doing then, but she wanted me to make sure, boom, I'm like a 830. And then through college, I always had a credit card. And we had the little games growing up where anytime I'd deposit money in the bank, they'd double it.
Yeah.
So instead of keeping it, buying the
that's a great incentive.
Baseball card stuff, whatever I wanted to buy, paintball gun, you save it, we'll double it right here. And look, that would be getting 3% interest, and we do the math, and that became fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's fun to, what you really want, at least what I think people want, what I want is I want to build a financial fortress around my family, a moat that's strong enough where if something bad happens or one of my kids really messes up or any number of things, that they're going to be okay. Now, side note, I felt that in my household growing up, which probably gave me the confidence to go out and really just do the entrepreneur thing.
Right.
Because I knew I'll never be destitute. My parents wouldn't let it happen. Most people don't have that. So I'm lucky.
Yeah,
I'm
good
spoiled.
point. That's a good point. Well, you're spoiled, but it sounds like there's a humility behind that of like you knew that the true reasons as to why it was being done when you grew up, which is the reasons why you're trying to do it now. Family's a key motivator for people, I think. Like I've had a bunch of people on here that said like I'm doing what I'm doing because I want to pay my parents' mortgage off, or I want to do, I want to make sure that my parents are well off, or my siblings. Like for me, like I don't know that kids are unlike you. Yeah. I'm
already committed.
You're committed. There's no more blame. And if there's anybody to blame, it'd be you.
Yeah.
But like for me, like before lending and the real estate industry, I was a teacher and I taught high school boys, and I learned a very valuable lesson that I loved working with students,
Mm-hmm.
but I loved returning them to their rightful owners at the end of a
Oh, yeah.
as a given day. And so for me, am I open to it? Sure. But is it for me? Probably not. And so for me, I'm like, well, if I'm going to work hard for something kid wise, it's going to be for my sister and her new fiance that she's now engaged to. So because she plans to have plenty.
Too.
Well,
Look,
it's true.
There's nothing wrong with doing it for you. Because, you know,
I hear that.
If the why is strong enough, the how becomes easy, right? That's a classic personal development thing.
Mm-hmm.
But most people don't know what they want. I haven't met many people, and this is another Stark thing. He said, without clarity, you're just lost in the ocean with your rudder's not working. You don't know where you're going.
Yep.
And you have to answer these questions. Harder than it seems. It's an exercise. This should take hours. And you change your mind. Things change. Who am I?
Toughest question ever to answer.
Who am I? What do I want? And what price am I willing to pay? And there's always a price. And that's deep.
Yeah.
So, and it changes as things change. But if you know what you want and you know what price you're willing to pay, you'll probably get it. But I found most people don't know what they want.
Yeah, no.
They think they know what they want, and they go, oh, but they're not willing to pay the price, so they don't want that.
Well, I'd argue that in my 30 years, I'd argue that people don't make it to the second step mainly because they can't answer the first question. Who am I?
Yeah, and
And
who
that
do
was
you
a-
want to be?
Yeah, that was a question that I struggled with in multiple fronts. But I mean, you talk about deep. That is the antithesis of surface level questions.
Yeah.
Those three things. What price am I willing to pay for it? That's opportunity cost as a former macroeconomics teacher. But the what do I want and how do I get there is, yeah, I mean,
No one can answer it for you.
well, yeah. I mean, I always used to say to people that you have to be okay with you, and you have to be okay with the decisions you make, because the only person that falls asleep at night and that head hits the pillow, yeah, you may have somebody next to you, but you're the only one that falls
Yeah, you're
asleep with yourself.
trapped inside this.
Yep, 100%.
It's called the human condition.
Yeah, it is.
It's wherever you go, there you are.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You can go anywhere and do anything, but how you feel about you is going to really dictate the quality of your life, the quality of your relationships, the quality of your health, the quality of your bank account,
Yep.
the quality of the relationships with your kids, which is super important. So if you can't get you right, you have to be your own best friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my mother used to say to me, you only need one best friend in life. And I think she meant it as somebody at one person.
Dude,
It was
especially
creating
in
a
this
good
business,
circle.
Michael. Look, in this business, if you're not okay with you, if you're not willing to promote you, if you're not confident in you, why would anyone else be? Seriously, why?
It's a great pivot because, again, I came to know you through social media platforms and your useful platforms. When did you start marketing? Did it correlate with you being good with you? I mean, was that the moment that you were like, I'm going to start promoting me and I'm going to start promoting the Sure Group. I'm going to start promoting Berkshire. I mean, your social media took off at a certain point, at least perceptually from my end, right? The consumer, the person that's hitting follow.
Mm-hmm.
But was there a time that hit for you that you were like, I'm so confident that now I'm going to put myself out there in that way, in that unique way? Because you were on the forefront of it, at least from my vantage point.
I mean, I was early, especially doing those video tours, because I was doing those in 2015.
Correct.
That was 10 years ago.
Yeah, when social media was not blowing up, which is when I think real estate, social media, if I could put a timeline on it, blew up 2019 to 2022, right? That's when.
Probably before.
Okay, well, I wasn't in the business. I was still
Yeah.
teaching at the time. But for me, if I could look back at the 10-year, look
Yeah.
back, which we're in 25, you're looking back to 15. So you were on the cutting edge of it, is what I'm hearing.
I mean, I thought I was a little late, but I was ahead of
Most
some of
people.
the competition locally.
Some people are just starting.
Some people are just starting. Look, it's never too late. You should just start. You should start now. It's still early.
Yeah.
Now with this AI stuff and how, it's funny. I get calls every day. and people are saying, hey, we found you online. We want to sell our house. We want to rent our house. We want to buy a house. Great thing, right? That's like a real estate agent's dream. People are just calling you.
Well, you've created an organic
Now,
network.
but I ask them. I said, where'd you hear about me? I always ask. And a lot of them are saying, well, I typed in ChatGPT and this came up. Interesting.
Huh.
So it's an SEO play. And if you look at the sources on what comes up on these AI things, whether it's GPT, Gemini, Grok, doesn't matter. They're pulling information from the internet. So you better have a digital footprint.
Yep.
And one of the things I like to talk about is your personal brand, which Sirhan's the king of personal brand, and we can talk about him. It's and Rory Vaden says this. He's a great speaker.
Mm-hmm.
You should look up Rory Vaden on Personal Brand. He says it's the digitization of your reputation.
Yes.
And you need to find your uniqueness and exploit it in the service of others. So that's kind of how I see it. And I got to be real. And like another thing I learned from my buddy Kevin Jablon, who's a prolific entrepreneur up in Bel Air, shout out to Jabby. He said, I remember I was asking him, I was getting ready to give a big talk, I think in Vegas, and I was hanging out with him for dinner. And I said, so how do you prepare for when you give speeches? Because he always kills it. He's like the coolest guy. And he goes, bro, just be the realest person in the room.
Yeah.
So authenticity really matters. It's a buzzword. Everyone says it, but you got to really internalize that. So you just be you.
Right.
No one's going to outdo me at being me. So as long
So good. Fire quote right there.
Yeah. I'm just going to be real. And I have a stack of proof that's undeniable that I am who I say I am. I'm not a faker.
Right.
Now look, I'm not on Northrop's level or Lucido yet, but I'm here. And look, this is what I've done. So I can just tell you how I do it and how I think about it.
Sure.
But 51 Cavan Green, I'll never forget, is the first video tour I ever did. Townhome, Perry Hall. And the reason I did it was the seller was a prolific videographer who's now my good friend, Lee Morton. Morton.works. Right now, currently, he shoots videos, commercials for Under Armour, McCormick. He's filming Tom Brady, Steph Curry, doing awesome shit. But back then, he was my wedding videographer. And he goes, look, I said, look, we're going to list your house. You're a camera guy. Like, shoot me. Like, let's do it. And that was 2015, and we had a really good response to that. And what's really important is creating content is table stakes. You got to do it. You got to do it. Because if you're not going to promote yourself, no one else is. You're probably going to end up working for someone who is willing to promote themselves, which is fine. But you got to promote yourself one way or the other. Video's the best way to do it because people feel like they know you.
Yeah, it's so true. You're making it sound so simple too, because the digitization of your reputation. I've heard that line before. I think it might have been last week. But long story short,
Omar got it from me.
I think he did.
Omar, you know you got it from me.
I'm gonna have to go check.
You know you got it from me.
I'm gonna have to go check the tapes, and I'll see, and I'll get back to you on that.
Omar Rashid's the man, by the way. God, I love that guy.
He really is.
He's the best.
You talk about the word authenticity and that it's a buzzword, and it is, and it's becoming kind of bastardized. Isn't everything becoming bastardized these days? Mm-hmm. But if you double down on authentic, that guy comes out. You want to put that in if I put that in ChatGPT and who's the most authentic Gen Z realtor, like that is the guy who comes up.
Well, because he just tells you a story. It is what it is. It's real.
No, totally. I agree. But to go back to what your point was, the digitization of your reputation, it kind of was organic. It sounds like you were listing this guy's home. He happens to have a gift with him being a video guy. You're like, just shoot me. And see how it turns out. And then that's, I think, the thing about what keeps people from getting into content or even just into doing something. They see the For You page, the Instagram Reels, and they see somebody else who's doing it, and they've been probably doing it for 10 years. Mm-hmm. And they've got 1 million likes or 1 million views, then they put something up and they get 400 or whatever. And it was actually Omar who said this on the podcast. It wasn't the first time I've heard this, but the way he said it was so prolific. He said, bro, when people say to me, I'm not getting enough views because he's got, he's doing consulting for marketing for people. And he's like, when people come to me and they're like, well, I posted something and I only got 400 views. He's like, imagine getting 400 people into this room today, right now. You'd be shitting your pants if you were trying to talk to 400 people. 400 people is a lot of people. You're not at 1 million. But if you want to be, you got to keep 400 needs to turn to 5, 5 to 6.
The best line for that is, Michael?
Tell me.
It's this.
You've had no good lines on this, so you better be good.
Ready? You don't have to be an influencer to have influence.
God, I don't think I've heard that one. So I'm going to have to coin that you.
You don't have to be an influencer to have influence, because you're exactly right. Like I was on my stories, even on the way down here.
They're so good.
I'm always popping off on my stories. It's a way for me to brain dump now. It's like I have something to say. I don't care who watches it. I'm doing it for me.
Right.
I'm doing it for me because I want to say it.
I love that.
And it is a muscle that you can build. I've always kind of been extemporaneous, where like I can articulate my thoughts in a rapid way, but anyone can do it if you vocalize what's already going on in your head. And most people aren't consciously aware of what they're saying to themselves.
No, we're our own worst nightmares, right?
No, everyone just beats the hell out of themselves. It's so bad. I don't do that to myself anymore.
Anymore.
Yeah.
There was a time you were doing that to yourself?
I mean, growing up, you just, you're not good enough, this, that. You want to be perfect. And you're just, when you get a little bit older and you realize that you're worried, so many people are worried about what other people are going to think.
Yep.
And
well, we're kind of conditioned that way, aren't we?
Yeah. I mean, human beings, you got to fit into the tribe. And it's just it's all psychology with your freeze, fight, or flight, reptilian brain.
Yep.
The amygdala hijack. You just hijack yourself with your panic response sometimes. But when you realize how seldom people think of you, you wouldn't really care about their perception. No one's thinking about you.
Mm.
But you think everyone's thinking about you. Everyone's trapped in their own little world, and they're all worried about what other people think. It's not true. It's not reality. So you got to release yourself from that.
God, I feel like I might be in a therapy session right now.
Yeah, I can help you.
I feel like I'm in a therapy session. That was last week, by the way. But now I'm here again.
It's just like, just let it go.
Why am I paying somebody for that?
Look, I'm not classically trained in this. I'm just saying this is just how I feel.
No, but you've committed, it sounds like, to the growth of you. It didn't happen overnight. You've surrounded yourself with the right people. Personally, it sounds like with your wife and other, I'm sure you have great friends. You've shouted out 1,000 of them on this on this episode. You've obviously surrounded yourself with great business people and your former partner and all this. Let's see, the mentors of the world. That leads me to my next question then for you. How valuable does Andrew Undem believe the power of the network is for him, personally and professionally?
When you define the network.
Yeah, so for me, the power of the network is something my mom taught me, I think, innately or inherently, organically. Mm-hmm. She was in human resources, talent acquisition. She was always on the phone with people. Mm-hmm. And she'd get off the phone with these people, whether she was doing phone screening early in her career or hiring or making decisions. And she was always willing to go like another step further. And my father used to give her crap about it. She used to say, like, Rita, what are you doing? Like, you had a great conversation. She was always like motivated by it. Mm-hmm. She was like, I just had a great conversation with Andrew. He's applying for this job at X company that she's working for at the time. But I want to connect with him on social media. I want to see what he's doing. I want to help him. He mentioned his family, and I think I could make an intro that could help that individual. And my dad was always like, you're trying to hire the guy for one of your hiring managers. Why is that? But my mom was always doing that. And that's where my brain went to. It was never the part of that. And so the power of the network for me, she's a queen on LinkedIn. I feel like I'm moving on LinkedIn. I'm only 30, but I've got a great network on LinkedIn. I think the power of the network is you and I were at that event where we saw each other, I don't know, it's probably 2 years.
Richard Stearns?
Yeah. Glenn Stearns.
Glenn Stearns, that's right. Mortgage guy.
I don't know if you know this, but I wasn't working with that group at the time, that financial planning group at the time.
Shanahan and Paul Mary.
Yeah, you're shouting it out, not me.
Shanahan and Paul Mary, they're great.
Yeah, and Bruce was just on the pod. He's going to be an episode released before you, but
he's a good golfer too.
He is a great golfer. We talked about golf. We'll have to wait to see what that one is. But we go to that event. You show up, and I'm like, geez, there's something here. What's the connection? That's where my brain always goes. It's like, how does Andrew? Why are Andrew and I in the same room? Right? I always talk in my personal finance class all the time at Loyola. How do you get in the room? The getting in the room is the hardest part, right? Because now it's what you do with being in the room. And so the power of the network for me, define that, you asked me to, and this is a roundabout way of saying it's the people that you know. And I actually think it might very well be what you gave me earlier in this episode. It's the people that know you. Mm-hmm. It's the impression you've left on somebody or some group of people or something. I think the power of the network sometimes doesn't have to necessarily just be with people. I feel like I've left this place that I work in a better place than I found it. I think you would probably say the same thing about Berkshire.
Oh, yeah. That's been a great network.
So, exactly. You're in Baltimore Real Producers. I know that.
Great network.
Right. So like Colleen's she, in my opinion, is the power of the network as it pertains to Baltimore producers in our industry, right? That's the creme de la creme.
You got to have good relationships. And that story about your mom's fascinating because all I heard was she was really good at her job.
She was really good. She loves it. She's still doing it.
It's because she loves it and she was exceptional at it. And that's why she was good, because she loved it. Most people aren't good at things they don't love.
Yeah.
It's just, unless you're just pure rawly talented, but that doesn't exist in the business world. You got to love it. And that's where the people say you got to find what your passionate is, where your passion is. I don't quite agree with that. You got to find what you're good at and commit to it, and then you will be passionate. Do what you're good at, and then your passion will grow. No one wakes up as a college graduate and says, oh, I'm passionate about being, a CFP, a mortgage lender, a real estate agent. How could you possibly be passionate about it? You don't know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even know if you like the ins and outs of it, the nuances of it.
So
but
accurate.
If you get good at it, then your passion grows. So that's one thing. But the line I gave you was, it's not what you know, it's who you know, but who knows you.
I love that caveat.
That just sounds good, but it is the relationships you create with other people will make your life either better or worse. So you want them to make it better.
The givers are the takers is what I call it.
Yeah. Look, I'm a taker a lot of times. I'm thinking about what's in it for me, honestly, a lot of times, but I also am willing to help others. But you have to get in the right rooms. I actually think that's the easy part.
Interesting.
Getting in the rooms is the easy part. But if you have clarity, who am I? What do I want? What price am I willing to pay? If you have clarity, you can make sure you leave an impression on other people. When you're networking, say I wanted Glenn Stearns to remember me, and I did want him to, and I remember exactly what I told him, and his wife followed up with me, by the way.
She's great.
Is you have to be, the one thing you want to have in mind when you're out and about, you're trying to build a network, grow relationships, is you want to be memorable. I don't care if they like me. I don't care if they know what I do. I just want them to remember me. That's clarity. So sometimes you have to be a little crazy for them to remember you.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sirhan remembers me.
Yeah.
And the people like Stark remembered me.
Yep.
And all my mentors remembered me because I made sure they remembered me.
Sure.
That's on you. 100% responsibility. If I want someone to know who I am, that's 100% my responsibility.
Yeah.
So that's how you have to attack it. You have to attack
the
the
good.
network.
This is such good stuff. It's not even funny.
No.
Yeah, you may be in the wrong business. You've become passionate about real estate, but you should be like in coaching. Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, I did a little bit of that with Stark, but I like being in the game.
For now.
I like being in the game. Coaching's like everyone wants to be a coach. That's like what everyone does. So whenever I see people, whatever my competition's doing, I try not to do it.
Okay, let's take that line for a second.
Yeah.
So your competition starts. I think you do it better than most, if I'm gonna be honest with you. Mm-hmm. Your marketing, but now all your competition is doing marketing. There's nobody in our business that's not doing it. This form, house tours. You got Trent Miller. I don't know if you know the guy. Trent Miller's a real estate agent who's doing, the crazy speed tours on TikTok.
Oh, right, yeah. TikTok, guy.
Young guy.
Yeah, I hit him up. I wanted him to remember me.
Yeah.
I hit him up. He's like local kind of too, like PA or.
He is local. Yeah, he does a lot of business in San Antonio, Texas and stuff like that. It's funny. My assistant texted me a couple weeks ago.
I'm thinking of someone local.
No, he's local. He is in PA, but I'm saying he does a lot of business in Texas as well.
He just sprints through the house. Kind of funny.
And Zach texts me on a Saturday, was it? He texted me on a Saturday, and he's like, "I think I just ran into Trent Miller at the Jewelers, the Smythe on York Road." I said, "Zachary, perfect opportunity to go talk to him, get in with him, make sure he remembers you, and like let's get him on the podcast. I'd love to talk to him." So I'm like,
"Yeah, come on, Zach."
Yeah. So he's sitting there. I always told I gotta get him a mic if I wanted to get him involved, but. He's like, oh, he was with his mom or grandmother. They were doing something. I didn't want to bother him. I said, wrong. Blame. There's the blame. I didn't know the framework.
No,
but
it's
you're blaming.
easy to find an excuse. Everyone has an excuse.
Yeah, no. But it's funny because that's your competition, obviously. I don't know that you see him as competition, but he's marketing. So how do you pivot the marketing piece? Because you are doing it better than most. I think because it is professionally done, probably, that you're doing it.
A lot of it's just like this.
Well, you're doing that, but the tours... in your home.
Oh yeah, we got good stuff.
You got good stuff for that. I mean, I know you're usually doing maybe like a thing outside the house afterward, but you're putting it together in a way like this, I'd argue. How are you pivoting from that? Because I love the line. I usually look at what my competition is doing and I do the opposite, or I don't do it.
Well, yeah. Well, everyone does the home tours now, and a lot of people do some of the basic stuff. But where I think we're different, where I'm trying to skate to where the puck's going, is I only want to say things on my stories or on my reels or on my podcasts that the consumer would actually care about. Mm-hmm. And I don't see many agents doing it.
Well, it's so true. You got to be educational and you got to be entertaining.
That's straight from Omar. That's Omar's.
Straight.
But most people
called me out immediately. He knew.
Yeah, I know. I'm into this shit.
I know you are. I know you do.
Most people, here's why it's tough. you have to have something to say. Forget about the house tour, because the only people who care about that house tour is maybe miraculously if somebody sees it and they're actually looking to buy a house and they like that house and that location at that price point. That's not going to grab a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, we're in an industry where people kind of lust after real estate. There's friggin' TV stations that all they do is show houses, right? So we're lucky with that, so people can get away with it. But are you actually saying something that if a consumer watching it listened to it, thought about it, understood it, they'd be better off for having listened to what you just said? And that's what I try to do. I actually try to make compelling points that a consumer would care about. A consumer doesn't care that the house is 5-bed, 4-bath, 3,200 square feet in this neighborhood. That's good. I don't think you should stop doing that. It helps promote the house. Because what you're really trying to do is help your seller. Most people do it to try to promote themselves. That's not what you should be doing. You're trying to help the seller.
Mm-hmm.
Creating the content's one thing. They post it. It gets no reach. I look at all the numbers. People don't know. If content is king, and it is, content distribution is the queen, and she wears the pants. They don't know how to distribute this. With a call to action to a landing page that goes to a CRM where your follow-up's good, it's so much more than the content.
Amen.
So I'm not sure, even if I was just doing that basic content, and I am, my back end's dialed. I'm doing everything for a reason on purpose. But what I don't think the competition's doing is really getting in deep to the consumer's mental state and saying, here's why this is important to you. And here's why you should consider this. And you're attacking one of their pain points and giving them solutions to it and an actionable next step. But not surface level stuff. Like, hey, if you're a first-time home buyer, we have $8,000 in grant money we can give you. That's okay, but you got to go deeper into that.
I appreciate the depth part too, because nobody today loves this like surface level. I'd knock on this, but it'll screw up the audio. You are a professional, because I noticed you were doing it earlier with your ring, and then you stopped doing it. So I took notice of that. This guy knows what he's doing, Zach. You've talked. I mean, you've hit so many things today. The who am I? You've given so many good nuggets. What do I want? What's it going to cost me to get there? What's Andrew Undem look for in the next 5 years? Where is he in 2030? What's he want? The impact he wants to have in these 5 years? You've obviously had an extraordinary real estate career, and I'd just say sales career, and I don't even really know the depths of it. But from the outside looking in, and you've talked a little bit about it today, you've had a successful career. I don't know if you would deem it a success. I think you would, but success is different to everybody.
Yeah, we're getting there.
So talk to me about the impact you want to have in the next 5, in the next 10, in the next 20. What's the impact you want to leave?
Well, what I'm trying to do now is, look, there's people who have laid the path already, locally and, of course, nationally.
Yeah.
But you have the guys like Craig and Bob, who those were always the guys who I was like, that's the pinnacle. That's success. Now we're growing a team. That's where everyone starts there. And how big do you want it to go? And are you committed? Are you willing to pay the price?
Yep.
And you have to hire a lot of good people. It's all risky. Every time you bring someone on, you change your operation, you go for something big. The chances of failing are pretty high. And then it's never a straight line, right? You got to go take 1 step, 2 steps back to take 1 step forward. And I've done that so many times.
Yeah.
So many times.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is by 2030, the year you threw out, that'd be 5 years from now. So I'd be 41. I think we can do 1,000 transactions in a year. We got to the halfway point, but it gets easier because I know so much more now than I did back then in 2022. I'm way better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm way better at dealing with problems. I'm way better at managing people, and I'm still not good at that, but I'm getting better. And I think I can really move the needle, and I'm willing to take more risks because I have more stability.
Yeah,
like I can lose big, and I can lose a lot of money, and it won't impact me. Like I don't have to lose sleep over.
You've built the moat, is what you
I've
told
got a
me.
good little moat going. The trenches can always be deeper.
Sure.
But it's like, okay, the biggest risk you can take is not taking any.
Yeah.
So you have to understand, you got to take a lot more. If I want to get there, I'm going to have to take a lot of risks. I'm willing to take the risks.
Yeah.
Because I'm willing to bet on myself.
Yeah, I love that.
And I'm willing to bet on the people around me. So the real goal is I want to get to 1,000 units because, for only one reason, is because I want to, when I'm in the rocking chair, when I hang it up, when I go off and do something else, I want to be able to be proud about the body of work that I did. And that's a big, hairy, audacious goal.
Mm-hmm.
1,000 units in 1 year, that would be doing, a lot.
It's about 85 transactions a month, right?
Yeah, it's just a lot. And I think that would be a really cool thing to say you did, because then that kind of puts you in the rarefied air, and no one can take that away from you.
How many agents would it take to do that, in your opinion? How many good producing agents to do 85?
If you could do it with 30, I've always ran on a skeleton crew. Like when we did the 500 units, I had 2 employees, maybe like 20 some agents. That's not a lot.
That's small.
Most people have all this overhead, all this expense. I've been always lasered focused on the profit. And I've got great partners at Berkshire Hathaway who really take care of me. I have a great team, right? And you're never going to do that yourself. Are you going to sell 3 houses every day closing? You're not.
No.
So there's a big...
Not having all that balance.
Yeah,
there would be zero balance.
It's like impossible.
Yeah.
So there's a leadership component in there.
Sure.
And like everyone else, I'm just right here on this little chart, and let's see where it goes. But you just want to be proud about the body of work, dude.
Yeah.
And that's a cool thing to say. Because then you're kind of, at least for me, I'd be on my own little Mount Rushmore with some of the people I've always admired and looked up to.
Totally. Well, I mean, if you say 30 agents, if you're doing
30
quick,
agents
if you're doing quick math, it's basically that those 30 agents got to be closing 3 deals a month.
I don't think you're going to do it with 30. That's my goal. If you had 30 agents doing 33 a month, exactly.
Yeah.
Or no, 33 a year. So if you had 30 agents averaging about 3 a month, you'd get there. But there's always going to be outliers. The Pareto principle shows no mercy, meaning...
Well, you'd smoke that goal, by the way, 1,000 units. I mean, they wouldn't even need to do 3 a month, but I hear what you're saying. It's just quick math. Because in theory, you just got to do 85 transactions a month and you're good to go. So they need to do like 2.5, 2.2 because...
Well, you're going to have somebody that does 100. Like you got Pecker throwing his weight around. I'm going to do deals. That's the other thing. All these team leaders who get out of production, nothing wrong with it. That's like what you're supposed to do.
To scale, right? In
but
theory.
I'm not getting out.
Yeah.
I wanted.
Why? Because you're too good at it, or because?
No, just because I like it. I like going. There's nothing better than when you get a lead, an inquiry, and says, "Hey, we're meeting with 5 agents. Answer these 6 questions."
I want to win.
I'm gonna say, okay, because that's hard. That's right where people go, "Oh no, oh this isn't going to be easy. This isn't a referral. This isn't a layup. This isn't my mom's friend. Can you compete?" Well, that's how you find out if you're good or not.
Yeah.
So if you think you're good and you talk like you're good, are you willing to go do it?
Yeah, is your action back it up?
And
right.
I like that.
Mm.
I like it because it does give you, it just gives you a good feeling when you do win those. And we often do.
Yep.
And sometimes you lose. And that's fine. Then you debrief because guess whose fault that would be?
Yours. 100% responsibility.
100%. Someone else was better. They were quicker. They were cleaner. They understood what the consumer wanted more. They probably answered these questions a little bit better. They were more creative.
Yeah.
Somehow, they were better than you for that client at that time. Every time I've ever met somebody, I learned this from Sharon. I don't know if you know him, Sharon Srivatsa, who was the president of Real. He stepped down this week. Big news. A lot of news.
Big news. A lot of news in real estate and lending these days.
A lot of news. He taught me the power of the debrief. Which is every time you have a meeting, you write down how it went and what you said and what they said and where you could have tweaked it. Because how many times all of us have been in the car on the way home from an argument, oh, I should have said this. And then you let it go and you beat yourself up over it. Who cares? Yeah, I messed it up. It won't be the last time. Are you going to learn from it or are you not going to learn from it? Totally. Well, I want to learn from it. Okay, what are you going to do to learn from it? Oh, you lose it, you're on with your day. No, you have a process. A system for always getting better. How else are you going to get good? And people don't like feedback.
No, they cannot stand feedback, especially that infuriates me more than anything. I think you should 360 feedback is super important. How'd I do today? How'd you do today? Type of thing. Like we could do it on this.
It's impossible not to be offensive.
Well, I disagree.
Right.
I think it's impossible for most people to not to be offended.
Right. That's what I meant.
I think that's what you meant.
Yeah, people like they
it's
just
like
can't take it.
Like you'd be like, Michael, I wish you had phrased the question a little bit better. And most 30-year-olds that are naive would be like, what the hell? You're on my freaking. Yeah. But if you did say that to me, I'd be like, huh, guy's been doing it a long time. He's doing it. Like, I couldn't agree with you more about the feedback piece. And I think one of the things that I wish was legal, I've been doing it more because I've been telling people about it. When I take a prospect call, I'll record it because I want to hear myself back after the 25 minutes.
Legal.
Well, here's what I say. It's not legal. Then want to go post about it.
Yeah, you can't use it.
Right, but I want to use it,
you
right?
can
There's
use
that
it.
guy on TikTok these days. He's a young agent in Salt Lake City, and I think the algorithm sent it to me because our home office is out in Salt Lake. And Cisneros, I don't even know his first name, but he's out there all the time prospecting. He's recording himself, and he's just recording his side of the conversation. So I guess that's probably legal because you don't hear anything that the customer's saying, and people are roasting him in the comments. And I actually think it's pretty good. I'd love for you to actually go take a look at it and say, it's no good. It's pretty good. He's starting to, he's trying to gain a following and definitely social media reach. And he's probably being successful at that. It's reaching somebody like me in Maryland. But he's recording it back to try to get better, which most people don't want. They just think they're good at it already.
I don't care how bad it is. The fact that he's doing it, he's determined.
Yeah, knows what he wants.
I like that. And look, you'll always get the haters.
Well, I think if you don't have haters, you're not doing it right.
If you're not offending somebody, it means you're not standing up for anything either.
Yeah.
So if you want to be a benign little person who's just afraid to walk on eggshells, you're walking on eggshells around everyone, you're never going to get anything done. No one's going to respect you. You're not going to do anything.
Right.
So you have to be willing to take a lot of criticism, deserved or undeserved, doesn't matter. Because again, if there's no enemy within, this don't matter.
Yeah, noise.
And you'll never get hate from someone who's doing more than you. It's always the people doing less than you. It is fascinating how people want to tear you down.
It is.
But that's about them. And you know what? You got to love them. Hey, I get it.
Yeah.
You don't like this. So what?
Yeah.
I like it. I'm doing it for me. No, I'm not doing this for you.
Right.
I came to this podcast because I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I could have said no.
100%. Yeah.
I wanted to do it. And I'm sure there's going to be people talking shit. And what's funny is, this is how I got Sirhan. Let me tell this story because this is funny. I don't think I've said it on a podcast before.
Okay.
Sirhan.
New drop right here.
$1 million listing. Everyone says, we'll get comments in this. Oh, he looks like Sirhan. I get it every day, especially when I'm wearing a suit.
Yeah.
Now, St. Patrick's Day today.
I'm just a Masters. It's the Masters.
It's the Masters.
You can wear it any day
We're
of the
looking
year.
forward to it.
Yeah.
Tradition like any other. I started posting on TikTok. Scott Bentley,
Yep.
NFM guy,
Yep.
big influencer dude. Funny story how I met him. I'll skip that for brevity. He goes, you got to get on TikTok. Like, you could blow up on TikTok. And I said, okay. So I start doing the trending sounds. He was kind of coaching me. Great guy, by the way.
He's a good human being.
Just a quality dude. Love Scott. He's killing it on the Eastern Shore now, just living the dream. Talk about a guy who knows what he wants. So
true.
Bentley's a good dude. And I start posting these TikToks, trending sounds, and in the comments, you wouldn't believe the amount of shit that was talked to me. And most of them were like this. Look at this fake wannabe discount Ryan Sirhan.
Oh, I love
this. This is like a Make-A-Wish, Costco, Kirkland brand Ryan Sirhan.
Oh my God,
This
I love
guy
this
is
so
like
much.
Sirhan's mentally challenged brother. But it was all these Sirhan comments, and I was like, whoa. Well, look, if they're going to compare you to somebody, why not the most successful real estate agent on the planet? I'll take it.
Yeah.
It could have been like somebody who's doing horrible things. Like Sirhan's a respected guy.
Totally.
So I'm getting, on TikTok, people don't realize I was the class clown. I was always really small for my age. I had to have a sharp tongue and a sharp wit. That's just how I got by in the world, which maybe helped me later on. So I start talking shit back. And look, they're not going to beat me. I'm eviscerating these guys. I was doing it just to have
so
fun.
much. I'm going to go back and look at these posts.
I stopped posting on it, but they're still there. And it was just so many. And then a handful of times, someone would say, oh, my God, I thought you were my boss. I work at Sirhan. This is all on TikTok. Well, then, so the people at Sirhan started to notice, right? So shame on me. I should have kept this going.
Oh, my God, I'm so angry at you that you didn't.
Well, at one point, Ryan, on his story, says, oh, my God, I think I found my doppelganger. And shows
I
me.
remember this, yeah.
So I share that. I'm like, oh, this is good. I'm getting attention. So he knew who I was. And we traded some DMs, and it was fun and this and that. And then shout out to Chris Keelty, Lawyers Express Title, says, hey, I'm getting Sirhan to come to the Maryland Live event. Saw you there.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, of course, I wanted to go to that. Keelty was like, dude, you got to go. Well, I roll up, and I swear to God, some people thought I was him.
I remember you posted this on your story that you were like, and did you remind me, was the bit that you like dressed like him too?
Well, I wore a suit.
Yeah, right.
Whatever.
But was that intentional or was that just authentic you?
Well, if I really wanted to look like him, I would have wore the pinstripe,
right.
nice tie, but I just wore a nice
suit.
suit.
Fair enough. Yeah, I remember you posting on social media your story. Coming to this event, you should see me there. You had the lanyard on.
Yeah.
Then, of course, I see you there. But then, of course, on social media afterward, I'm like, oh, my God, if this was intentional by Andrew, this was fucking brilliant.
Well, it was semi-intentional because Keelty kept saying, like, dude, this is going to be big for you. I'm going to introduce you to Sirhan. And Chris Keelty's the man.
Yeah.
Like, who doesn't love that guy?
Well,
here's what I did that I was smart and I'm proud of. So what does Sirhan actually want? Because if you're going to be good in sales or have influence, and I want him to remember me, and he already kind of knew who I was with the chatter, what can I give this guy that he actually wants? Well, look, I'm a realtor in Baltimore. This guy's the king of New York City. But at the time, he was launching his Sell It Like Sirhan courses. Now it's called Sell It, industry agnostic. The guy does everything big. But at the time, he was training agents. I said, okay, I know what to say to him when I see him. So you begin with the end in mind. You got to be prepared. You have to have your antenna up. You have to have guts. You got to pull it off. Because everyone else is just, oh, hug, let me get a picture, let me get a picture.
Yep.
He doesn't care. That's what everybody does. I want him to remember me.
I love this.
So I meet him. I dap him up. What's up? Oh, my God, you do look like me. We're hanging out, high five, and how's it going? I said, hey, Ryan, look, I know you're trying to Sell It Like Sirhan, and you're killing it on social media where I have a lot of contacts at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. I speak at all their events. Average age of the agent over there, 58. They're not going to see your stuff, but they're going to see mine. So I need to interview you on my podcast about you, and we will infiltrate Berkshire Hathaway Home Services for your product. He goes, here, take my cell phone number. You come up to New York, we'll do it. So then, boom, I booked myself an appointment to go meet him at his office. So I did that. And that was a fun little journey, captured all that.
I remember it.
There's
Now I love hearing the backside story of this.
So I go there. It's mission accomplished, right? Pulled that off. Now I'm in Sirhan's office. He's giving me the tour. We're making content. Everyone in his office is like, you're that guy. Because they talk about it. And we do that podcast. And we had a great little event. I'll never forget. We sit down in his office. And there's 3 chairs because it was going to be me, him, and Michael Scott, who is the ex-executive producer for NBC Universal, who records all his stuff. Like, everything's big in New York. These are the real deal. Well, I sit in the chair, and Ryan comes in. He goes, hey, you're in my chair. And I said, yeah, not today, Ryan. I'm going to sit here today. He loved that. He started laughing. I have this on camera. This is B-roll back before we start recording because no one talks to him like that.
Of course.
And look, I got nothing to lose. What can you do, kick me out? I'm already here. I'll go hang out in New York City. We have this great interview. And then towards the end, he's like, so what are you guys doing the rest of the day? He opened the door to potentially hang out a little bit more. And right then and there, I knew I have to get out of here. See, most people, fanboys, fangirls would have said, oh, whatever you want to do, can we please come to Brooklyn with you? I know you got some appointments. We'll just ride along. We'll keep making content. I had 2 videographers with me. And, of course, he's got his ensemble. And I said, hey, I got to get out of here. I'm going to go show these guys New York. And I'm going to hop on the train on the way back, but I really appreciate it. Dapped him up and left. Now, when we left, my guys were like, dude, what the hell? We could have hung. We could have done stuff. And I said, no. So you got to remember this. He would have got sick of us. He doesn't want to be around us for 4 hours. Then we would have forced him into the situation where, like, dude, I got to get these guys out of here.
How did I get them out?
So I left it like
this is such an interesting perspective.
And that's an opportunity to come back, and we've had a good relationship since. And I made a critical error last year where they called me and asked me. They said, hey, Ryan's launching Owning Manhattan on Netflix. He wants to go up in a plane, because he always does something big and crazy, and jump out of the plane to launch Owning Manhattan. So he wants to go up, do the whole commercial, but he doesn't want to jump out of the plane. So
his doppelganger can.
Will you come up, wear the same suit?
Andrew?
And we won't show your face, so it'll look like him, but you're going to be the one who jumps out of the plane.
How fucking great of a story would this have been?
Well, I don't like that. See, it's funny. My wife's like a skydiver. She's done it many times, and her aunt's like a pro jumper. I'm like, look, I don't do that shit. I don't jump out.
Fair enough. I don't know that I would have done it either,
But I said, okay, look, I understood how good of a marketing thing this could be. So I said, look, I'll do it. But when I go up there, I want to be able to shoot me and Ryan, and I want him to say, if anyone's thinking about buying or selling a home in Baltimore, that Andrew Undem is the best. And I want him to say it. Well, we'll get back to you. Because, dude, you know how much like Chase Bank pays him for endorsements and this and that?
Of course.
He goes, yeah, he'll do that. That's no problem. So I was like, okay. And then I still didn't do it.
What the? This is where I'm like, what the? I'm like on the edge of my seat. Why?
Well, it was I made a critical mistake.
Oh, you're saying
I didn't realize how big that show blew up, and it's just a mistake.
Yeah.
Look, I should have done it. I didn't, because if I had that video of him saying that, I'd be running an ad on that, once a quarter. All his steam, I get to catch a little bit of the drift.
Totally.
But I messed up.
Yeah, understood. Well, it wasn't meant to be then.
It wasn't meant to be, but that's a funny story.
Well, and it's funny that you say this story, and I appreciate you telling it on here. That to me is the power of the network, right? You had the end goal in mind, right? It was like teaching to the test as a teacher. It was like, okay, here's what they need to, here's the test. Now build the curriculum backward.
Right.
You're basically building the curriculum backward. You're knowing what you want. You don't want to be the person that's like, oh, can we get a little photo here? It's what everybody does to him.
Mm-hmm.
I just had an experience. I shared it on another episode, but I just had an experience with PGA Tour players down in Jupiter. And I ran into Mike Piazza. I don't know if you saw any of this. Like I had like an out of body experience type of very similar to what you just said. It's the getting in the room has never been difficult for me, but it is difficult for others, especially if they don't know how to network.
Well, they don't want to. If you wanted to, you'd get in the room.
I agree with you. And so for me, especially, I again, it would make more sense if I told you the story, but I don't tell stories short. But long story, as short as I possibly can do it, I used to make a lot less money. Less than $40,000 a year, teaching, whatever. I couldn't donate back to my alma mater, right? But every year I wanted to stay in touch, so I donated $20.16 my graduation year. What did that get me? It got me an invitation every year. They didn't know how much money I had or didn't have or did or didn't donate.
Yeah, you're a donor.
But they gave me the donor invitation to get me in the room where everybody else in Baltimore or that went to Loyola University, Maryland that would show up came. That was getting in the room. It cost me. So I think I did your framework. I know who I am. I know what I want, and what it was going to cost me that year was $20.16, which I was like, okay, no, but you're laughing, but that was what it was going to cost me to get into that room, and I knew it. Of course, now I give more than $20.16 because I have the ability to, but that was the cost to get in that room today. The cost of getting into the room at Maryland Live was whatever the entry fee was to the Keelty event that you obviously met him at.
Free.
Yeah, I don't know if it was free for me. I got to go back and check, but it was free. Maybe for you, it was free.
Yeah, I like free stuff.
Was it free for you or was it free for everybody else?
I have no idea.
There was definitely an entry fee for a credential, I can assure you. But anyway, my point is like that was the cost. And it was either worth it to you to hear the guy speak or it wasn't. And so I think this aligns perfectly with what you're saying. But I go down to Jupiter and I love your point about like, what's the worst thing they're going to happen? They're going to kick you out. They're going to say no. I'm around Adam Scott, Trevor Immelman, Nick Dunlap, Xander Schauffele, Lexi Thompson. All these people are at this event. You and I both love golf. I'm sitting there going, oh, what an opportunity just to say hello or watch them swing on the range. No. I get to play with them. Play a round of golf with these people. And I shot my shot at the end of the round. I was like, toward the end of the round, I said, again, I love your antennas being up. I don't know that I've told this full story because this is not typically me, but my antenna was up. I was like, how can I get to either get their contact information so that I can chat with them, see them again, talk to them, add value? How can I add value? That's what I'm always thinking about. It's not what can I get out of it. I'm maybe a little less, maybe this conversation needs me to think about how do I start thinking more about me. I actually think that's what I'm taking away from this today.
Nothing wrong with it.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And that's why I love kind of having this conversation. I meant what I said earlier about like, maybe this was exactly the therapy I needed, Zach. So anyway, I said, what can I do for these professional golfers? Well, guess what? What's coming back to Baltimore in 2025?
Oh yeah, BMW.
The BMW Championship. We sponsored a hole then. I was little old Michael. I'm a member where I am, a member where you are. I play caves all the time. I'm very blessed to be able to do that. And I said, hey, have you guys been up to caves lately? Totally redesigned. Totally new golf course. Don't know if you've played it in the last year. It is completely different than when they played it back in 2021. And two of them are like, no, have never played it. I said, well, anytime you want to come up, we can get on. You can see it probably before you're going to be there because you're obviously they're in the top 30.
Right.
They're going to be at the tournament. And shit you not, they're like, seriously? And I'm like, yes, anytime. They start checking their calendars. Hey, do you mind if our caddies come? Absolutely. Absolutely, you can do it. Gives me their phone number, gives me mine. We follow up. I thought it was all BS. No, follow it up, text, we're good to go. They're going to come up when it makes sense in the schedule. I think they come up to Philadelphia twice in the next 3 months or whatever. They're playing awesome. Philly Cricket Club for the Truist, and then they're playing Oakmont for the U.S. Open. So they're going to be in Philly, which is an hour away from Baltimore. They're going to play K's. But I think it aligns a lot with your story.
Well,
how are you going to stand out amongst everybody else? It's probably like, oh my God, can I get a quick selfie? Or like, I didn't. There are no pictures from that weekend.
Look, all these people that you look up to that make you feel that type of way, starstruck. they're just humans.
Well, yeah, I said this earlier. I'm not. There's one person in golf that could strike me.
Oh, Tiger.
It's Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
I would not be able to do any of the things I just said. I would have fumbled. I would have thrown up. I would have stumbled over the word. I don't get shaky often, but like I told the story on a different episode too. Like I ran into Mike Piazza have you been to Jupiter before?
No.
You'd love that area. It's a who's who town, but for the right reasons. Obviously one of the wealthiest counties in Florida. I think the wealthiest town in Florida. And we go to this restaurant, 1000 North, and my childhood idol. I grew up in New York. New Jersey area. I am a diehard Mets fan. So excited for the season. Shout out Juan Soto. And my cousin, Yankee fan, who is just wallowing in self-pity. He's blaming. He's putting blame, taking no responsibility. Yeah. He's sitting at the bar just talking to two old schlubs. So I said, okay, what does everybody else do? Everybody else is going to go up to him and tap him on the wrist and try to interrupt him.
Right.
That's not what he wants.
Right.
He's out at a bar. I send a drink over. I go, Bart, we're at complete opposite corners, and he gets the drink to him. He's like, what is, like, he kind of is like confused. Like, what's this drink? I didn't order this. He goes, oh, the guy over there points to me, complete opposite side of the bar. We lock eyes. He makes a beeline for me and says, thank you. He's like, you have no idea how much this means to me. The guy's probably a gajillionaire. Yeah. He's like, you have no idea how much this means to me. We take a photo. I tell him a quick childhood story, exchange contact information. He goes, what are you guys doing down here? We're like, we play golf. He's like, I'm a member at the Grove. You know, me. Grove. Yeah. I'm like, he's like,
that's Jordan's course,
It's
right?
Jordan's course. Yeah. They're about to redo the greens. I said, well, hit me up. We can play wherever. We can play. My buddy was gracious enough to host me, so he offers his place. I'm like, if you're ever in Baltimore, like what? Like whatever. Who knows if that turns into something? My point is, you go to put yourself out there. What's the worst he would have said? No, you can't have my contact info? Okay, no problem. Got the picture or got the handshake. Yeah, all I cared about doing was actually buying I wanted to be able to tell the story that I bought my childhood hero a $46 bottle of $46 glass of wine, because that's cool. Who can say they have to buy their idol a drink?
Yeah, it's
not
just
many
taking
people.
action, dude.
Yeah,
you just gotta act.
I love this.
You gotta act.
What's the most useful platform you're on right now for you?
I think Instagram, because the stories are so easy. You just and they disappear after a day, so they don't have to be perfect. They're raw, but I get like 400 or 500 views on it. But as I've been consistent on that, I swear to God, Michael, every day I get an inquiry, which is a really good opportunity. Not always to buy or sell a home, but something.
Yep.
Something.
Conversation.
Yeah, and it's very helpful. So I like that. I like LinkedIn, as you said.
Huge.
I need to get better on that. But you got to use them all.
I agree with that.
You got to use them all because it's about distributing the content.
The digitization of your reputation. You got to be on all the platforms.
Digitization of the reputation, having a really well thought out plan to distribute the content.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it. Well, we'll link your channels in the episode for 100%.
Dude, link them up.
I'm gonna
hook me up.
I'm going to hook you up. I'm going to link you up. We're going to get on LinkedIn. We're going to go on the golf course this spring.
Absolutely.
We're going to do a little home and home, you told me, prior to us hitting record. I have not been up there in a long time to play your spot. I know you've done a lot of work.
Look, Maryland Golf and Country Club, gem.
Yeah.
Harford County, gem.
I got a good story for you about Maryland Golf and Country.
Underrated.
I would agree with that. It's in kind of the middle of nowhere as if you live in the city, the Baltimore city.
Right.
Which is,
well, it's in Bel Air.
Right. I call that the Boondocks. Shout out to my branch managers that are up there.
You.
I know it's probably not something I should say, but I go up there for the first time to play in an outing with Jeff Sanker. I think it was the Lee Tessier event.
Oh yeah, he always has a nice one.
Hole in one on the par 4 11th or par 4 12th.
Yep.
The shorty.
Yeah, 12.
Clark. There it was. It was unbelievable. I got the Maryland Golf and Country Club flag. So I love that place. It's nothing been good to me, so I got to get back out there. But you guys have done renovations to clubhouse, course, so I'm going to get up there this year.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Me, you,
Andrew Green, the U.S. Open maker, did everything.
We got to find two others. We got to think big.
See if Piazza wants to
do
it.
Yeah, we got to think big on that.
Lexi might want to come up.
Yeah.
You know, you never know.
Listen,
look, you're Michael Clark.
I'll make so. You're Andrew Undem. I'm just a peon in this lovely mortgage real estate title world that we all live in. I know.
We all are. Look, we're not curing cancer. We're
it's
not
so
scientists.
So true.
We're not that special, but it doesn't mean we can't make our little dent in the real estate universe. So
I agree with it. All things that I needed to hear today, probably all things you needed to hear today. Andrew, thanks for being on. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for joining for yet another episode of Finding Your Voice. I'm Michael Clark. I'll see you next time.